Hello everyone and welcome back. Do you know what, it's actually really good to be back because it's been a couple of weeks since I did a video. I've been trying to be a sensible human being and going off and doing more adult things rather than just messing around with cars all the time. But I'm back and I have been busy. I have been doing quite a few things. In today's episode, in fact, you're going to see whether any of the changes that I did in my last video have solved all my problems. I did my map sensor work that I set up, as my sump stopped leaking, and does my engine actually idle and run properly now, which I will get into in a second. I have actually been tackling a few other little issues as well. So I'll take you into sorting out my Bluetooth adapter issue, so not being able to connect to my phone and get all my gauges up. I'll sort out, hopefully in this episode, we're going to fix why my radiator fans aren't working. And also, I've even had time to give the old boy a bit of a buff, or at least I've started it. So I started T-cutting the paint, giving it a wax and a polish. I'll probably do that in a montage shortly, actually. Because let's face it, there are people out there that are way more into this detailing stuff than me and probably way better at it as well. So we'll cut to that. So I reckon first, let's jump to the intro. That's right, I've been buffing my car. Now, you know when you're getting to the point in your project when you start waxing it and polishing it, either you're just avoiding doing a terrible job, or like me, you're actually very, very close to the end. You're just trying to work out a few little niggles and you thought to yourself, well, it's got to look nice when it goes for its MOT. Now, you might not be able to really tell just yet, but it does hopefully look a little bit shinier than it did. It does need a little bit more work. I've had a bit of advice from my mate Dean, who is a absolute detailing addict, I've got to be honest. I'm never going to be going to that standard because I just don't have the patience for it. But do you know what? It was actually pretty satisfying. I used a few basic tools and some basic polishing stuff on wax, and it's actually coming up pretty good. So what I'm probably going to do, just while I'm setting up this next little bit on the camera, let's roll to the montage of me attempting to do some detailing, and then hopefully by the end of it, you'll think, that actually looks a little bit redder than it did before. So let's cut to it. Nuts here, but if you're doing like a proper job like this where you know it properly, now if you're doing obviously a little buff at the weekend on the go, you'll end up being sorely disappointed with how badly it goes. So what I'm just going to do from there, you can see it, if that makes sense. If once you rub it in, it all but different. And then I'm going to put a little bit more teeth on there, just with it dry, or drier. Forwards, and this is how it looks now. Now, I know that's not perfect, and it may even make it look a little bit better in the shop, but I think if you consider how... Right, now one of the things I said I did mention that I'd fixed since the last time, and it is important because I think this is going to be really useful, is the Bluetooth adapter that I've got for my ECU. So now one of the nice things about Megasquirt, and obviously a lot of ECUs, especially Megasquirt stuff, is it's pretty cheap. So this little adapter, Audi Performance adapter, it's 30 quid. You just run a power wire to it. This was obviously temporary for now. And then you run that to your serial port on your ECU. And then every single setting that you can get from your ECU, you can display it on, at least in my case, an Android application. So I'm using the MS Droid app, which I'll just quickly bring up now. And what this means is you can actually adjust a lot of your settings from here. You can actually even do fueling tables and stuff, but you can set things like your rev limiter, and obviously this actually got flat shifting, launch control. But at the moment, there are only two things on this car that don't work from the factory wiring. That's the water temp gauge and the tach. It's just one of those things. Like when I stripped out all the wiring, obviously it just happened to be that they were ones from the wiring that I didn't need. I will get to it eventually, but the nice thing is, now I've sorted this out, you can set up all kinds of gauges. So at the moment, I just got revs, water temp and air temp. But I mean, when you switch it the other way, if it catches up, there you go. It gives you like another preset load of gauges and stuff as well. And you can change how they look, you can change what they set, you can give warnings on there and stuff like that. So for the time being, just until I actually get around to sorting out the tach and stuff like that, I'll just have those on here instead. The nice thing is, there's also another app you can download, so your phone stays off. When it registers there's power going to it, it turns the app on, and then as soon as you turn the ignition off, it turns the phone back off again. So it's just like a little gauge. So that's good. I'm buzzing to get that sorted out. The next thing I need to resolve is why the rad fans won't work. Now, what this actually has, so what this ECU has, let me spin you around. As you will see, from my little box of tricks just in here, there are loads and loads and loads of spare wires you don't need. Okay, so some of them are stuff I've not got, some of them are just things I'm not actually using at the moment. But what you get is 2 spare outputs, so you can use those to run other stuff. So this one I'm just going to use one of my outputs to run the rad fan. And how the ECU basically works is you pick an output, you say when a certain thing happens, turn this output on. So on this one it would be when it gets to a certain temperature, trigger this relay, and then when it gets below a certain temperature, turn the relay off. That's basically what most ECUs and stuff do anyway. It will not work. It will not work. I've tested everything. The relay's fine, it's getting power, the earth's all okay. I've checked with other people and the settings all look good. I don't know if there's something going on with the ECU, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to admit defeat a little bit, rather than being all flashy and having it so I can adjust the temp, which to be fair, it doesn't really need it. I'm going to go back to the stock rad fan switch, which I did actually cut out of the system, so it's not actually in my loom anymore, but I did keep it, so because I keep everything, because I'm a massive hoarder. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to run 1/2 of the switch to the power for now, just temporarily. So that's this is effectively all this is. It just turns the switch on and off. So one wire is going to go to the power on the battery. The other wire is going to go to the trigger on the relay. And then in theory, once the rad switch gets to a certain temperature, it joins the connection, triggers the relay, and that turns the fan on. I've actually got a spare. There we go. Let me grab it. As if by chance, I've got a spare rad fan switch. So any of you out there that haven't seen one of these before, it is as simple as it sounds. There you go. There's like a little temperature core in there, and as that gets hot up to a certain temperature, depending on what car you've got, it just joins the connection together and gets power to the relay that turns the fans on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a cup of boiling water and just drop that. A cup of boiling water and just drop the end of it in there like that. So obviously it heats it up. Just to test my theory out, and as long as it turns the fans on, then I know what I've got to do with the wiring. Then instead of hooking the power wire directly to the battery, I'll put it to one of the powers that only comes on with ignition, like the headlights or something like that, and then I'll wire the other one properly in as well. And then we've got my rad fan, and dare I say it, people, that's it. That is all I need. I need the rad fan to come on so it doesn't overheat when they're MOTing it. I need the auto tune function to work so that I can drive up and down the road and tune it a bit better so it passes the MOT. And I needed to idle properly, obviously, and I needed to stop leaking oil. So one thing I will say though, there are a couple of little jobs on this car that I have actually asked the garage to do because I quite frankly can't be bothered. There's a bolt that I can't get back in on the passenger side, lower suspension arm, when I was taking the strut bar off. It's just, I think it's shifted and I just can't get it to go back on. I've actually asked them if it's still leaking oil from the sump, just to pull the sump off and reseal it while it's up on the ramp, because again, let's face it, that's going to be a hell of a lot easier for them to do. And they're actually going to bleed my brakes for me again as well, so I've told them to drain all the fluid properly, put some decent fluid in there and just properly bleed them, because I'm still not confident I've really nailed it, because the brakes just don't feel right at all. But other than that, we are getting there. So let me get this state wired up, and then I'll get the old hot water on the go, and we'll see if it works. Right, first things first, let's just test this out. So like I said, here's the original connector. All I've done is I've ran one wire all the way off to the power, and then the other wire's going all the way down to the trigger for the relay. So like I said, all the relay, if anyone's out there that doesn't know what this does, the relay gets a constant power, basically. Then it gets a earth, which is this one, and then it gets this one, which is where the power goes off to. So whatever it is you're trying to power is this blue one here. And then all this trigger switch literally is either off your ignition, or in my case it was supposed to be off my ECU, or some other method or switch. And all it does is effectively it just goes, right, turn that on, and then it lets the power go to the thing you're doing. It just means that obviously you're not overloading, because you only have to have like a really light power wire now to turn this on and off, and then you can just directly do this from the battery. Right, so if my theory is right, all I need to do now is put the power on the other end of this, and if that works, we should be able to hear this tick and the rad fan come on. So if I just pick this up, the sweet sound of sweetness. Ready? So you can hear, you should be able to hear the actual relay tick in. Yeah. Oh God, I can't believe it was that easy. I've literally spent a couple of evenings out here trying to get that to work on the ECU. But it works, that's fine. I don't need to chop around too much now, because I've already ran the wiring for triggering it from the ECU before, so it'd just be a case of like cutting the ends off that, and then just soldering in those new wires basically, and the new sensor. I will try it with the rad sensor, which I've completely misplaced, but the switch is around here somewhere. I will test it out with that as well, just to be sure. But otherwise, I reckon that is jobs are good in, and that's one more big job ticked off my list. So I'll button that up now, and then we'll move on to firing up the car and seeing whether all this hard work is paying off. Right, welcome back. It's the next day. Right, so I've buttoned everything up now, so that is all done. What I really did was just to run it all through some like conduit. It's come up here now, and I've got my my ignition live from one of these relays, and I've tidied all them up, clipped them together, and rewrapped some stuff, and sorted out a few dodgy connections and just anything I wasn't very happy with. I've ran it all down, and it all goes down to the connector just in there. Now I did test it again, even though I know it works. I just ran a couple of wires just between the 2 points on the sensor connector, and it kicked in lovely. When I turned the ignition off, it turned it off, so it only comes on with the ignition now, which means it won't carry on running when I turn my car off, which is good. So there's nothing else left to do, literally nothing else left to do now than chuck the bonnet down, open the garage door, fire it up. Oh, right, we're in. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's definitely starting to smell a bit musty and old in here. Like, I need to get the old wet vac out and get it smelling a little bit fresher, which I will almost certainly do before the MOT, just to have to put those poor people through it. Right, I am dead excited about this. This should be really good, as long as this all goes to plan. Now, I have tested everything individually, so I'm not expecting anything terrible to happen, but let's just see how we get on. I've got the garage door open, of course, but let's see how we get on. So I've hooked the O2 sensor back in. Like I said, if you're ever doing, if you've ever got one of these wide bands fitted and you're just like turning your ignition off and on and off, on and off, on and off, just unhook the actual sensor. It just tends to stop it giving you any grief. Right, here we go. Just needs a little bit more help. Now it is a bit of a cold day today. So how are we doing on the fuel? Ooh. Right, I'll just keep my foot on the accelerator for a little bit. Still running a little on the rich side, but it's alright. Right, I'm going to take my foot off the accelerator and see will it idle. I mean, I'm not touching anything. That's idling, people. Yeah. Well, that map sensor has worked a treat. Just idling. And actually pretty good. Listen to that. Well, we gotta go and see what the exhaust sounds like now. Let's go. I've got to be honest, I was actually running pretty clean. It's not smoking too much at all, so the fueling can't be that bad off. So that is a definite win. So I'm going to let this warm up. I'll fire the laptop up and stuff as well. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tweak. Otherwise, we are in, people. Right, now I've had the chance to calm down a little bit, it's probably worth saying actually any of the little jobs I've got left to do now are, you know, fairly insubstantial and nothing for you to worry yourself about. So there's not really a reason for me to film any of them. It's just tightening the back box up. I'll just tidy up a few little bits, give the interior a bit of a clean. Just make sure that everything's just tickety-boo ready for the MOT, because obviously I don't want anything to basically put it off and fail on silly little things. I know it's going to fail on something, it has to. I fail to believe a car that I've been building for such a long time as I haven't dropped some sort of ball on it. Otherwise, that's it. Once I get it through the MOT, because we will, I'll get it home, I'll insure it, I'll tax it, I'll do a little bit of the auto tuning up and down my street, because it'll be all legal by then, just to get that fuel in as good as I can. And then I'll be driving it about an hour from my house, 45 minutes to an hour, to go get a couple of hours of actual mapping done to it. I honestly don't know what to say. I'm at the end of at least the first part of this project, getting it on the road, and then we can finally, one, start to enjoy the turbo, two, start putting some miles on it so I know that I'm ready for my track day in July, and 3, they said 2 again, 3, start on this damn thing. I really am excited for the supercharger project on the Slug, on the 899, and I've been stockpiling all kinds of like new second-hand and random bits for it. So as much as I've been trying to focus on this, it has been hard not to keep on like have my vision going this way and thinking, oh yeah, I could do that as well. So either way, that's enough for now. I'm hoping next episode we'll have my new logo, my new video, my new equipment, and a whole new chapter for the Worn Out Racing channel. So thanks a lot for stopping by again. Keep your comments coming and like the video if you like this kind of thing, and I will see you next time.